Good evening, Pueblo, Colorado. It is April the 6th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. And I call this regular work session of Pueblo City Council to order. Councilors, I'd like to draw your attention to tonight's agenda that there is a little bit of a shift in our order. First thing up on the council's agenda this evening is to move on 2 items in executive session. I would request a motion to move into executive session, please.
Madam Chair, I move to go into executive session for the purposes, for a conference with the city attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS section 24-6402, parent 4, parent B, and the following additional details are provided for identification purposes, PFAS class action, and for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and or instructing negotiators under CRS section 24-6-402, parent 4, parent E, parent I, and the following additional details are provided for identification purposes to discuss an economic development project, MXV Rail.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the council will move into executive session.
Be back shortly. Smack it.
Just hit it.
Yeah, we don't have to keep-
The chair will now call this work session back in session. We have now concluded our executive session. I'll move forward with council's agenda. The chair will recognize Mr. Gil Romero over Zoom for a legislative update.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I apologize. This is Ryan Romero. Gil is just wrapping up a meeting with the legislator and will hopefully be joining us shortly. But I'm going to go ahead and get started with our presentation until he gets here. So we're on day 83 of the legislative session, and there's obviously quite a bit going on at the Capitol that will affect Pueblo. The state budget is on the House floor this week. A number of bills we're tracking are moving toward final votes, and we have a few good outcomes to report as well. Of our priority bills, there hasn't been much change since our last presentation. I'll discuss each one in more detail in a moment, but more so than any other year in the last decade, this session has been defined by the state budget and specifically the budget deficit. So that's why so many bills have not been moving through the process and will most likely die if they have a fiscal note. Also of note, every year the JBC typically sets aside funding for legislative priorities, even in bad budget years like last year. Typically 5 million per chamber for new bills, and this year there was no set aside. So again, any bill with a fiscal note will likely not make it. With that, I'm going to go ahead and most of these bills we've discussed in at our prior presentations, and again, they just haven't moved much. So I'll just give a brief overview. House Bill 1071, local government vehicle ID systems on interstate highways. This is one of the bills that we supported, or the council supported. It allows local governments to place automated vehicle ID cameras on interstate highways, also known as AVIS. This one has made it through all the way through the process. It's waiting for its last vote in the Senate, and then it'll be headed to the governor's desk. Senate Bill 129, mitigate impacts of tax increment financing. This is one of the bills that council decided to oppose, and I can happily report that this was killed in committee last week or the prior week, sometime in the last couple weeks. Senate Bill 70 and 71, I'm gonna describe kind of as a tandem. You all are familiar with them now. We've discussed them multiple times, but Senate Bill 70, ban government access. This one passed it made it through its first committee, Senate Judiciary. It's been sitting in appropriations since February 23rd. So this is one of the bills, as I was discussing at the beginning. It has like a 1.3 to $2 million fiscal note. So as long as that fiscal note remains on the bill, it's not going to be going anywhere. We've been working the Appropriations Committee along with some of the other advocates. We think we have the votes to stop it in appropriations. But as the long bill moves through the House and then the Senate, and we get a better idea of if how much, if any money the legislature will get, we'll have a better idea on what the chances of 70 movement are. So no movement on that, and same with Senate Bill 71. This is the title, use of surveillance technology by law enforcement. This is the one that we kind of described as it was a much broader than Senate Bill 70, but if 70 were to fail, we've heard that they might try to take some of the stuff from Senate Bill 70 and stick it under this title, and then try to get Senate Bill 71 through the process. And both of those council has opposed. And quickly, because I know I'm taking too much time, House Bill 1037, this is in the same kind of category, ban government purchase of personal data from third party. It prohibits law enforcement and government entities from purchasing consumer data without a warrant and creates private right of action for violations. Again, I hate to sound so redundant, but this one hasn't moved since February 25th. It was laid over in committee, so it hasn't been killed, but it hasn't moved, and we've heard the sponsor doesn't think she'll get it through the process and is just going to keep holding off. And last but not least, House Bill 1313, adjust requirements statewide affordable housing fund. This is the Prop 123 bill, replaces the rigid 3% annual growth requirement for Prop 123 funding eligibility with targets based on local housing, construction, and job growth, and allows regional credit sharing. This is one that the council supported and Melissa Cook testified on. That made it through committee, through the House, and is awaiting it's awaiting to be scheduled in its first Senate committee hearing. So hopefully we'll have an update on that shortly. And then, as I discussed in my opening, just briefly on the state budget, Colorado state budget, called the Long Bill, is drafted each year by the 6-member Joint Budget Committee, a bipartisan panel of House and Senate members. Over the course of several months, JBC staff analyze each department's spending request, and the committee votes line by line on what to fund, cut, or defer. And once the JBC finalizes its draft, the long bill is formally introduced, which has happened in the House, and we expect it to it typically takes 4 to 5 days through each chamber. So it'll be in the House this week, in the Senate next week. And just to give a couple of the highlights, Medicaid was the primary target. JBC voted to cut provider reimbursement rates by 2%. State employees will not receive a raise. The JBC rejected the proposed 3.1% cost of living increase for state employees and declined to fund a new affordable housing program for state workers. This obviously matters locally given the high concentration of state employees in the Pueblo region across DOC, CDOT, CDPHE, and the courts. The Tabor refund was retained. The JBC voted not to refund approximately $300 million to taxpayers that the state believed it owed under Tabor, using reclassification of certain revenue streams to free general fund capacity. This move is seen as legally complex and could face a court challenge. And last but not least, the senior homestead exemption remains unresolved. With no Tabor surplus available to fund the exemption through its normal mechanism, the budget is relying on proceeds from the Pinnacle Assurance privatization, a bill that, as of today, April 6th, has still not been introduced. So if Pinnacle fails to materialize, Pueblo's large senior homeowner population could lose a meaningful property tax benefit. This is one of the largest remaining variables in the budget picture. So bottom line, the long bill is technically balanced, but the balance is fragile, and there are lots of difficult cuts that the JBC had to make this session. So with that, I apologize for taking longer than I wanted. If Gil or Alec have anything to add, please do, and if not, we'd be happy to take questions.
Chair will open up questions, opportunity for questions. The chair will recognize Councillor Dante.
Yes. I was looking at Bill, I think it's House Bill 1202 to do with homeless. Is it stuck? Is it stuck in the Senate? No, it's a House bill.
Councillor Dante, give me just one moment and I'll pull that up.
Okay. It's 1202.
Just going off of memory, I think it obviously made it through its first committee, and I think it is waiting in appropriations. Oh, go ahead, Alec.
No, yeah, it's made its way through the House, so it's been introduced in the Senate, and it's going to be scheduled for a committee hearing tomorrow afternoon.
And has council taken a position on that particular bill, or is there anything specific you'd like us to follow on that, Councilor Dante?
I'm chairing the homeless commission here, so I'm just kind of keeping my eye on it for the commission.
Okay, well, we will send reports out from the committee if any of the other counselors would like that. But since you're on that commission, we'll get you our reports as that bill goes through the committee. And as I said, if anybody else would like them, we will send them to them as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, counselors? Seeing none, the chair will move on to the next item on the agenda. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The chair will welcomes County Commissioner Miles Lucero, Miss Becky Medina from Boys and Girls Club of Pueblo County, and Nick Mora, Youth Advisor for Boys and Girls Club for Pueblo County, who will give us a presentation on the microtransit pilot program. The chair will recognize you for your presentation for 15 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Councilors, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. We appreciate your time very much. My name is Miles Lucero. I am a county commissioner, and I am joined by my friends.
I'm Becky Medina with Boys and Girls Clubs of Pueblo County.
I'm Nico Mora, Youth Advisor.
And we are very pleased to present tonight to you folks and really to the community for the first time what we are very proud to call Arrive Alive 719. It is a microtransit program with the ultimate goal of getting young people in our community home safe, completely free of charge. So we'll run you through the program.
Thanks, Miles. So first, really want to give a perspective of how we got here. And I am part of a proud member of Communities That Care that is led by the Pueblo Department of Health and Environment. And what we know is Pueblo County is ranked 10th in statewide teen car crashes with 3,428 car crashes, ranked 7th in car crashes resulting in teen fatalities. Pueblo had 22 teen fatalities due to car crashes between 2016 and 2021, and most of these fatalities occurred on Saturday nights and were caused by distractions and driving under the influence were the top reasons for these fatalities. And what we also know is that our public transportation service stops at 6 p.m. This data was supported by Eva Casilon from PACOG, who regularly tracks these metrics. So what was the tipping point for this committee? In 2022, there was a deadly car accident on 4th Street that, oh, sorry, thank you. I'm going to give that up. That impacted several members of our community. 2 young people lost their lives when the car veered to the other side. It also impacted folks that were in oncoming traffic. And due to that, a group of concerned partners came together. These folks were represented by, led by the Department of Health, but included Transit, District 60, PACOG, Boys and Girls Club, SRDA, youth advisors such as Nico, and folks from the juvenile justice system. Also included Commissioner Lucero and our Counselor Hernandez most recently. Really to address how can we impact and save lives. One life is too many. And as Communities That Care's primary objective is to reduce youth substance abuse and also encourage young people to participate in pro-social activities. So in the spring of 2024, Communities That Care contracted with an organization called VIA, which is a nationwide company who specializes in mobility services to perform a feasibility study on potential transportation options for youth. They looked into what the services would look like, what ridership would look like, and what a model could look like here in Pueblo. So looking at our data and ultimately what would the cost be. And since then, since the summer of 2025, we also, as part of Communities That Care, have been doing extensive focus groups and survey data collection with young people and parents, following up on the feasibility study to get specific information from them.
Thank you, ma'am. So we identified a problem, did a little bit of a feasibility study using that third party called VIA, as Becky mentioned. And then we wanted to talk directly to the community. So the first step in doing that was a survey process. We went to District 60, District 70, both colleges, and talked to young folks along with a group of parents. We had about 180 responses from young people, and then about 20 parents give us feedback via these surveys. The surveys focused on just kind of like what is your perspective on youth transportation in Pueblo as it exists today? So we got some really good feedback there, but we did find out that there were some underrepresented communities in Pueblo that were not really captured in those surveys. So what happened next was some focus groups. There were 10 total focus groups that included 65 youth and parents across the entire county. Those focus groups, like I said, were kind of, the point was to fill the gaps in what we thought the survey data may have been missing. And it was really important to talk directly to these folks in a, candid and transparent manner to see if we are able to find the resources, what is the best fit? Where are the gaps with the current bus service? What time of day would be the most beneficial to offer these services? So very, very productive when it came to those focus groups. We heard loud and clear that there was a strong demand for safe, reliable, and especially youth-focused transportation. There was a really big gap in what was offered specifically to the young people in Pueblo. Another thing that we heard from parents was safety, right? We wanted to know that if there is a third party going to be offering these rides, that the rides are tracked in some way, there's cameras available, that the drivers are thoroughly vetted. All of those things came up as we talked to the parents. Affordability was a huge theme that came up over and over and over again. The cost of this service could not be a barrier to access. So that was a huge focus. And before we go on, I meant to do this at the outset of the presentation, but I want to recognize some folks in the back of the room. Your former colleague, Ms. Sarah Martinez with the Health Department, Ms. Annie Carlson, and Jessica Apodaca. These three have been absolutely instrumental to leading this effort. They could very easily be sitting up here giving this presentation, but they graciously offered to hand it over to us. But I just cannot say how impressed I've been throughout the whole process, how much they care about our kids. So I just wanted to shout out, I can't not call you Councilor Martinez, Sarah Martinez, Jesse Carlson, and Jessica Apodaca. Thank you for all your efforts on this. Sorry, I just wedged that into the middle of the presentation, but it's very important. So there we go. Surveys, focus groups, and kind of what we heard coming out of those. So what's the plan? After listening to the community, it all comes down to providing safe, reliable, flexible transportation for youth, especially during late night, when bus service ends, when kids have been out maybe participating in pro-social events, or, I'm sure nobody at this dais made questionable decisions when in their teen years, but it happens, correct? So we wanted to make sure that we were tailoring these services to the young folks, and we came out with three main goals. Number one, reduce teen car crash fatalities. Number two, fill the gaps in Pueblo transit service that limit youth mobility. And number three, increase transportation alternatives available. So we landed on what we're calling microtransit. You can think of microtransit as Uber or Lyft. It's a door-to-door service where I'll let Nico explain kind of the finer details of the program, but basically young people are going to be picked up wherever they may be, and they're getting a safe ride home.
Yeah, so the program will be around focused around 15 to 20-year-olds or 22-year-olds for this service. 15 was the age that we land on since they have their permit, but they're also like into high school. 22 was the oldest since that's average age students graduate from college. Then the service hours are 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. Thursday through Saturday, because that's when major parties and accidents occur. Potential to expand the service in the future, especially during summers and, you know, spring break, etc. The service zone is Pueblo city limits, which will be hopefully expanded to Pueblo West in the county. But CDOT's recommendation to be able to get a good service down was to be only in the city limits. And this will be free of charge for users, and it'll be funded through the Clean Transit Enterprise funds through CDOT. This will be no questions asked and transportation home, so it's not party hopping. The program is also administered by SRDA, which leverages their experience in microtransit. So they're like very reliable with that too. It will be, the calls will be dispatched through SRDA, who will bundle rides for efficiency, looking to get an app so that it will be able to be programmed to go home instead of like going to a party. The vehicles and staffing will be 3 shuttles with 3 drivers per night, plus 1 dispatcher, and SRDA will hire, train, and manage the positions.
So I think it's really important to note that this is very much the pilot phase of this project. Councilor Martinez, Sarah Martinez, along with SRDA, worked really hard to secure the funds for this initial phase. We are very confident based on the Clean Transit Enterprise that CDOT offers that these funds will likely be ongoing. But for this pilot phase of the program, as Nico mentioned, it'll be rides within city limits. The rider will call a dispatch center. So to start, it will be a phone number managed by SRDA. SRDA has the experience. They do this every day with their senior transportation. You can get very much considered a microtransit program as well. So SRDA has the experience. The SRDA will be the fiscal agent for this entire program, meaning they'll collect the dollars, and they'll also do the background checks. They'll do the hiring of the drivers. And so we're very proud to partner with them and thank them for their willingness to step up and kind of leverage the expertise they already have in this arena to offer this program. But right now, very much a pilot. We're really excited to see how it rolls out. I know that there are so many young people in our community that can benefit from this. And I'm just very grateful to CDOT, very grateful to the health department and SRDA that we can offer this to the young people of Pueblo. So here's the ask. Believe it or not, we are not here to ask for money. Sarah Martinez already took care of that. Congratulations, ma'am. So we're not here to ask for money. What we are here to ask for is your help just getting the word out. We are, Sarah is still working with her youth advisory council to talk about what's the best way to advertise this in places where young people will see it. So we'll be going through that process. We're still developing marketing materials, but our ask is that you buy into this program, help get the word out through your platforms, whatever channels you have out there, whatever connections you have in the community. The plan is to get this group, or at least a portion of this group, in front of the school boards. We'll be doing a presentation to the county commissioners. We'll be asking schools to advertise this in whatever best way they see fit. A lot of the schools have like a portal where kids log in to look at their grades, look at their assignments. We think, if they're willing to plaster the information right there on that homepage, that could be really successful. Boys and Girls Club, of course, will be doing their part to make this a known program. But that's all we're here to ask. We're here to present this to the community and ask for community buy-in to, at the end of the day, keep our kids safe. And I think, like myself, like many of you, that's why we're in this business, right? Is to help keep kids safe. They're our most important asset that we have in our community. So anything that we can do to further that objective, I hope it's an easy ask of this group. Anything else that I missed? Okay. So happy to field some questions to the best of our abilities. Might be looking back there for some help, but yeah.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Counselor Latino.
Thank you. I appreciate your presentation and the time and effort you've put into this. My questions are as follows. When are these accidents taking place? In other words, the time of the day or night? And what is a curfew for a teenager? What is it from whatever to the age of 18? Because I have some concerns as it relates to this. And as a result of that, also, we're talking about a school district in Pueblo that has a four-day school week. Okay. And I don't agree with that either, but I don't have control over that at this point in time. 5 days a week is what you, and you're not, you're not a part of that, but that's part of the problem. These kids, these young people have too much time on their hands. 4 days a week, and then the staff members are off 3 days a week. And so we have problems. In addition to that, you're not supposed to be out after 10 o'clock or whatever it is. And I'm not sure exactly what the curfew is. So I show naivety as it relates to that. But I'm having a real hard time with this. Here we go. We're giving again. And there's no guidelines in terms of rules and regulations as it relates to people being on the street. And if you travel the streets at night, which I do, to check in my community, there's a lot of those people out there, and a lot of them are teenagers. So I guess I'm having a hard time with this, and the schools have to be a part of this, of which they're not. Not when you're working 4 days a week. Okay. And kids are in school 4 days a week. And then they're off 3 days a week. And then we have those kinds of problems. And so again, I can't support this. Thank you.
The chair will recognize.
Madam
Oh.
Chair, could we?
Yes,
Mind if-
please respond.
So,
Thank you, sorry.
Counselor, is there a specific thing about this program that you don't support, or do you not support the 4-day school week in general? So what about it? Can we address something with this program specifically that you don't like? Do you not like that it's free? Do you not like that it's keeping kids safe? I'm confused.
We're talking about providing transportation. Sorry. I'm used to yelling as a coach. Anyway, we're providing transportation for young people, and I just don't understand why. I mean, they have families.
It's so they don't get in drunk driving accidents and die, sir.
They shouldn't be drinking to begin with if they're not old enough.
Couldn't agree more.
So that means that who's ever dispensing the alcohol, again, we all grew up, everyone on this dais grew up, and so did you all, So what did your parents do?
Well,
Example.
all due respect, not every young person in this community has the privilege of having parents like I had. And so if we as a community can come together to bolster the services offered to more disadvantaged young people in this community, I do not see a downside to that.
I appreciate your concerns, and you bring up a lot of valid points. According to the data that we have, Saturday evenings were the highest day for these teen car crashes. And the other thing to look at is this is also a means to be able to support young people in participating in positive activities as well, recognizing that city transit does end at 6 p.m. So this is a wonderfully creative solution that we've been able to identify to also be able to support young people in participating in those activities as well.
I don't have a problem supporting young people. I really don't. And it's not about me. But I came out of a school system where the first catastrophic incident took place in education, and that was at Columbine. Okay. Now that has nothing to do about what we're talking about. But again, what we're talking about here is we're talking about 4-day school week. We're talking about curfews. I'm having a real hard time really putting a handle on this. I really am. So
Sure, we'll move on to other questions fielded by our counselors. Sure, I'll recognize Counselor Hernandez.
Thank you all very much for coming to us and speaking to us about this issue that obviously affects a great deal of people in our community. I've had the misfortune of losing a brother to a drunk driver, so been on the other end, we're a survivor. And so any chance we can get to help kids get home safe, I'm gonna be for it. Excuse me. It was such a pleasure to work with all of the adults who were in the room, but especially the young people that I got to work with at that time. Because it's not every day you have the opportunity to work with kids who really care about an issue that they really take to their heart. Some of those kids also know a lot of people who lost their, or you know a few people who have lost their lives in drunk driving accidents. So I know that we were fortunate enough to have Counselor Martinez get us a grant for this program, and I think it was $280,000 annually. $236,000. We were going to raise the money, but Counselor Martinez was just incredible in finding us the money. So I appreciate that. All for it, whatever I can do. Thank you.
Any? Chair recognizes Counselor Dante.
Yes, I think this is a very good program. You know, we have to protect the children. And children do make mistakes. They don't do what they're supposed to do. And so I think this program is really good for that reason right there. We don't, just because a child makes a mistake or doesn't abide by curfew or whatever, doesn't mean that they deserve to die with drunk driving. So I support this program.
All right, I would just like to take a moment to recognize Mr. Nico Mora for coming and standing and talking to us before. This could be a pretty hard thing to do. So I want to commend you for coming and representing your youth and all those in the community. So thank you so much for coming, and I applaud you for all of the work that you've done on this project. The other piece to this is, you know, working in substance use and working with youth. This is a program that I think is really embedded in harm reduction. We cannot control sobriety for youth, even at that age of development. And this is an opportunity for them to have in their own control a way to make sure that they have some way to get home safe. I agree with Commissioner Lucero that we live in a community where it's not the norm that everyone has two parents and, you know, are home all the time. And there's, and developmentally, like kids are more or folks at this age are more influenced by their peers, not their parents. So I support this as number one, another component of a way to be preventative in substance use treatment in our community. Also, this might be, and I understand it's very fresh, but piloting this could also help with the city and the police responding to these accidents, potentially even economic development, because we're not paying for large insurance premiums for youth. I mean, so I think that it could stem to realize some positive things. But most importantly, though, I just want to commend Mr. Mora and all of the other youth who have worked with the government for putting this out there, for being leaders in your community and doing something positive to make sure that you and your friends have safe pathways to get to where you need to be. We know it's hard. We understand I understand peer pressure, and this is a really great job with this resource. I'd like to recognize Counselor Boston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thanks, guys, for putting that presentation together and coming forward. You know, when I see something like this and I see young individuals getting involved, I think you're doing this for a reason. I know when I was in high school, there was several kids that were impacted due to drunk driving. Kids that went to high school since then now, they've been impacted by drunk driving, and several people have lost their lives. And I think it's important to show the youth that their voice matters, and that when you come up with a program like this to help positively impact your peers and try to protect people, I think that's something that we need to support. Any way I can try to help get the message out there and try to get these individuals out of harm's way that, might have made a bad choice. It's not worth a life. So I'll support you any way I can.
The chair would recognize President Aliff.
Thank you, Hayne. Thank you for the presentation and the hard work that obviously went into putting this together and the thoughtfulness that went into it. Obviously, this is a good program because you're offering people rides, but I think for me, the way you're selling it is a little bit off to me. I would be very, very supportive when young people who don't have the ability to go to the movies on Saturday night, want to get picked up at the movies and get a ride home. That's what this should be about. Helping our youth get out into the community, do the things that they couldn't normally do because, number one, maybe they don't have a car. Maybe they can get dropped off, but they can't get home, and so on and so forth. To me, that's the positive side of this. The negative side is that when it comes to alcoholism and drinking, we should be supporting deterrence. And we shouldn't be supporting that, hey, you can go out and get drunk and raise Cain, and we're going to come pick you up and take you home. I think that sends a horrible message to the youth. That almost is an enabling instead of deterring that type of behavior. I would go as far as say, if you're drunk, you don't get a ride. But then on that part of it, it's, what's the alternative if you are drunk? But I know being an alcoholic myself, starting at a very young age, when I was a teenager, this would have been the greatest thing ever for me. And that's sad that I think that this would be the greatest thing ever for me. Because it would have enabled me to do the bad behaviors that I was going to do anyway, whether I got a ride or I didn't get a ride. So I'll be very supportive on the fact that I think there's a lot of positive that can happen out of this, and I would just suggest that when we sell it to the community, that's what we're selling, the positive side of it, not the negative side of drunk driving and things like that. But thank you again for your hard work.
The chair will recognize Commissioner Lucero to respond.
President Aliff, I really appreciate that. And thank you for the honesty and vulnerability. You're 100% right. We don't want to make it seem like a prerequisite to utilizing this program that you have to be on some substance. So that's really good feedback. And we do need to make it absolutely clear that this program is all inclusive, whether you're going to the movies or you did have a drink or whatever the case may be. This is for young people in our community to get home safe, point blank. That's really good feedback, and I appreciate it. And that because that's truly what it is. It was the impetus for it was some really unfortunate drunk driving events. And I think if this program had existed, maybe those events don't happen. And hopefully by this program existing, it prevents them in the future. But you're absolutely right that it needs to be marketed for any behavior and anyone that needs a safe ride home, not just folks that are potentially using a substance. I appreciate that.
Chair recognizes Counselor Gomez.
Yeah, Miles, I love this thing. What you guys are doing. If we don't do something, and Sarah, thank you. If we don't do something here, you think about this, my head just starts spinning. I'm thinking about, the weekend introduction network, a win, something to that effect. But the fact that we have people that might look at this, maybe you're going to enable a kid. And if they call more than once, you got issues coming on. So the fact this is a pilot program, model program, to figure out all that stuff is a lot of work. I know I've been involved with some of these programs, but we can get the interest of the folks that are just saving one life. I mean, what's been going on this last week alone is enough to drive you crazy. But we've got to really stop saying, we're there for the children, and everybody's there for the children. Everybody in this room is here for children. But it's these kind of programs that you have right here. I haven't seen this been talked about. Maybe we can do things with, special counseling if you're involved more than once. If there's other fields that you can go into. This is just not one little model program. And pilot is probably the right word, because I think you're just starting, to be honest with you. But I think it's our responsibility, everybody on this council, to support this 100%. And we should be able to give you anything you need to get it done. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Counselor Dante.
Yeah, Commissioner Lucero, when you ended the presentation, you asked how we could help. Do you have a flyer, or will you have a flyer that you could send to us so that we could put it out on our social media?
Yes, ma'am. The marketing materials will be finalized here probably within the month. And I think there'll be some really easy to share graphics, flyers, whatever you want to call it, both digitally and, something on paper that we can take into, whatever establishment. So yes, absolutely. We will make sure to be in touch when that's ready to go.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Being mindful of the time, the chair will recognize Counselor Latino. Counselor Latino, 1 moment and then 1 moment for a feedback, 1 minute for
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
Again, thank you for all your effort and your hard work. Please understand that I appreciate that. My concern doesn't relate to you. My concern relates to people outside of the organization in dealing with this, like the school districts, as an example, and the parents, when these young people are out on the street when they shouldn't be out on the street. So again, I mean, thank you for what you've done. Obviously you've put a lot of work and effort into this. I support what you've done. My major concerns, and as I've alluded to, have to do with, curfew, the school district on a 4-day school week, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have any control over that, nor do you. But and those are the concerns that I have. Other than that, thank you for your efforts, and I'll do anything I can to help young people.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Counselor Latino, we know how much you care about this community, sir, and it takes all of us, right? Every small step that we can take to, especially empowering our young people, is what's going to make our community better. So I see this as a small piece of the puzzle, but yeah, of course, there's always going to be work to do, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for your work on this project. And I do work for Health Solutions. We have a mic drop every Tuesday morning. So I will let youth and family know about this. And I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that there's a resource and we'll get in our buildings. All right. Thank you, folks.
Also, I've got some data for you. I didn't hand it to you because I didn't want you to be distracted during the presentation, but some of that survey data that I mentioned, I've got it here for you.
Ladies and gentlemen in the chamber, can we just give Mr. Mora a round of applause for coming in here and speaking with us today? Thank you so much. Okay, moving forward with our council's agenda. I'd like to welcome Mr. Brian Caruso, Sky Corral RC Club President, Mr. Brent Cozzolino, and Andrew Hayes for an update on Sky Corral. Come on up, gentlemen.
Members of council, good evening. I'm Andrew Hayes, Director of Public Works. I'm here with Brian Caruso and representatives from the Sky Club, the Sky Corral Club.
Just quick, I just wanted to say the chair will recognize you for your presentation for 20 minutes.
Thank you. So we are here as a follow-up to a prior presentation was made in January, shortly after this council was seated. We at that time had just received bids back on the construction of the Sky Corral project, which is a runway project out just on adjacent to the new Medal of Honor Boulevard. There are going to be two parts to this presentation. Council had requested that the Sky Corral representatives appear tonight to try to provide a little bit more context and explanation about their club, why this project's important. So I'm going to let them start off the presentation, and then I'll finish with my slideshow at the end, if that's okay.
Perfect.
Good evening, council. I'm Brian Caruso. It's nice to be back in front of many of you again this evening. Joining me tonight, as mentioned earlier, is Mr. Brent Cozzolino. He is our events coordinator for activities and event functions out at the RC Airfield. We've provided a hard copy handout to each one of you. Let me quickly recap what's in it. There should be three elements. The first packet will be something looks like this. It says Sky Corral on the front. The second 2 pages that are stapled separately is some economic data. And the third, for each of you, when you have a moment, is a copy of the AMA magazine. And I'll talk more about that in a minute, but if you have a moment sometime to read about the AMA and what it does nationally, I think you'll find it very fascinating. So with that, I will start with an update and really overview of what Sky Corral does and what it is. Sky Corral Club, if you don't know, was founded in 1970. It's one of the longest standing aviation clubs in the region. The club is affiliated with the Academy of Model Aeronautics that I mentioned earlier. The AMA was actually founded in 1930. It's a large organization, about 192,000 members nationwide. The AMA really focuses on promoting model aviation, and they do provide liability insurance coverage for all of our members, and you do have to be an AMA member in order to fly at the Sky Corral field. As some of you may know, located on city-owned property, the Sky Corral Club has been fully self-sufficient organization for over 50 years, meaning we've never requested any funds, any resources from the city. We've managed it internally with our club dues and contributions that we get from some people. And we have about an annual, excuse me, maintenance cost about $3,000 to $5,000. Obviously, we have runway maintenance, we have site maintenance, we have shelters that are out there that have to be maintained, entry roads, gates, etc. Sky Corral has also had a 50-year, well, really since its inception, commitment to the community and the engagement and outreach. We like community impact, and we do items such as local food drives. Club members continually bring non-perishable food. We have 2 members, a man and a wife, that collect the food from the club members, and they donate it, or we donate it, to the Pueblo Community Soup Kitchen. In fact, in your handout, if you go to the last page, you'll see kind of a yellow document. That is a letter of appreciation from the executive director of Pueblo Community Soup Kitchen and what our food donations provide for her organization to the veterans, the homeless, and those that are needy. And we think it's a very worthwhile community impact that Sky Corral members have. We've also done numerous aviation-related educational programs with local school districts, teaching young kids about aviation, aerodynamics, even how to put small balsa little gliders and airplanes together. So they learn a little bit about science, technology, engineering, and math. The club has actively participated in static model displays, malls, community events, and we've even flown in full-scale air events. We honor our veterans. We've always had a long pride of honoring our veterans. Each year, for the past 25 years, we've held what's called Warbirds over Pueblo. It's a very large RC event that we bring in military veterans from past wars or that have served, and we recognize them at the field for their service to this country. In addition to that, we have a Warbirds event flying all forms of military airplanes and jets. We promote tourism. We have people that travel in from out of state and out of town. They'll spend the night or multiple nights, and that has economic value for the city of Pueblo and for restaurants, et cetera. And Brent will speak more to that here momentarily. And we promote Pueblo by representing Pueblo in national events and competitions. Not only do we have events and competitions in Pueblo, but we go to Arizona, we've been to Minnesota, we've been to Lakeland, Florida, et cetera, representing Pueblo, and Sky Corral is a premier facility. So for more than 5 decades, Sky Corral has demonstrated responsible stewardship of city property while serving as a valuable community asset. And we do promote education, aviation heritage, tourism, local economic activity, all without financial burden to the city of Pueblo. We have pilots that start very young. In fact, the photo of the young man or the young kid in that picture actually happens to be the grown man sitting back here with a white hat on, who's had a very successful career athletically, and he will point a lot of his success to his background in RC aviation for a large part of his life, nearly, I think, 20 years. So with that, next section of this handout is titled Warbirds and Classics over Pueblo. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Cozzolino, and he's going to walk through and speak to that.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you, council, for giving us a chance to come in here and kind of educate a little bit with some of the new members that may not have been privy to some of the information that we've given over the last several years. The one event that is kind of the biggest event in our organization is our Warbirds over Pueblo, like Brian alluded to. It's a Memorial Day weekend RC aviation event featuring highly detailed scale model aircraft representing historical military and classic airplanes. It's something that's very hard. And when I say lay people, I don't mean it disrespectfully, but unless you've seen them and you've actually physically seen these airplanes, they're not the little 5 and dime store control line that you remember as a kid that you bought at Kmart or whatever. These are highly sophisticated model aircraft. They have remote control canopies that slide back. They have pilots' heads that turn, retractable landing gear, the whole thing. And what's amazing is we get a large draw from a lot of the area here in the state, from Fort Collins, Denver, Colorado Springs. They bring between 40 and 50 pilots, and every one of them brings an additional person. So you got a good 100 people that come to this Memorial Day weekend event. We do have some other events, and one that we're looking for, which is a jet only event that will now become, with this new blueprint of this field, we will be all on with this event. I travel to Arizona, Florida, and I go to these different model airplane events. They have the exact blueprint, the same area square footage of runway that we're proposing here. And they're getting 100 to 110 pilots, not to mention all the additional people that they bring with them. And it's something that I hope that you guys will get a chance to see and come out, and we'd love to have you come to the field and witness that. One of the numbers, actually, there's a printout here. It looks like this, if you guys would refer to that in your packet. This was kind of late coming into our clutches here. It's from the Pueblo Chamber of Commerce. We reached out to them to give us some ideas with some of our numbers, and they plugged in what they felt would be the economic impact here in Pueblo by hosting these events. So it looks at, if you look at the number one, the executive summary, it shows a $400,000 investment in a state-of-the-art RC aviation field, a 5-year projected return of $1.5 million. As you can see where it says strategic growth, that Jets over Pueblo, that's become one of the most popular movements in the RC world right now. And we're gonna host that in August. Probably bring 100 to 110 different pilots in. If you go down to number 2, you'll see the 4 different events that it looks like we're going to be with the Jets over Pueblo makes it 4. Warbirds over Pueblo, Jets over Pueblo, Big Birds, and the electric airplane events for a total of 220 pilots, of which 70% of those are from outside. They're traveling from areas, border states, and also from the Denver and Fort Collins area and Colorado Springs. Which a really cool section of this report is the third, the economic valuation calculation. And it shows the daily spend per out of town party between $175 to $225 in lodging, dining, fuel, and just basic retail. The one area that I didn't even realize the Pueblo Chamber calls it a multiplier effect. And that's a 1.5 time multiplier that's applied as visitor dollars that are respent by local businesses on wages and supplies. I honestly didn't know that was a factor. So if you take those numbers and you multiply those out based on what we think will be the visitors to Pueblo for these events, the annual direct impact will be in the neighborhood of 200,000 in direct visitor spending. And then you add that multiplier effect, you're looking at real close to 315,000 a year. Which is pretty darn good for an asset that the city owns, that is self-funded. And I guess if we look at a $400,000 outlay and you return $315,000 in 1 year, and that's pretty impressive. You get your investment back in 15 months. I'm sorry. If we look at the 250,000, which I think we're kind of thinking about here as regards to the city's portion of this, you're going to recover that entire investment in between 9 and 10 months. I looked at this road initially as a negative, but when I start thinking about exposure to our field and what we do, we're kind of out in the middle of nowhere right now. But when we see families driving along the Medal of Honor Road and they see these airplanes flying, I think that's gonna speak volumes for what we do. It's hard to go into these schools and explain to, kids, hey, come on, get your mom and dad, bring you out to the model airplane field. And it just kind of falls on deaf ears. But if they see these airplanes flying from that road, I think that's going to be a big deal. So I'll turn that over, I guess, Brian.
All right.
You want to finish that up?
Yep, we're getting a little short.
Thank you,
on time,
guys.
and I'll go quickly. As Brent mentioned, the area or the field down in Phoenix has a lot of members and they put on really good events. By us going down there, we have built a long-term reciprocal relationship with many of the pilots that come in from California, Nevada, other states that are more than hungry to come to Pueblo and come fly. Just need the field to do it. We travel down there and we found in the RC world, RC pilots are very reciprocal. You fly at my event, I'll fly at your event. And that's true in a lot of different hobbies. So we believe, this initiative supports a strong partnership between really a dedicated long-term club, 50 plus years, and the community. We've delivered and continue to deliver sustained economic impact, educational opportunities, and I really believe civic pride for the city of Pueblo. If you flip quickly to this page, it's got a silver plane on the front of it or up at the top. That is just a picture of the pits in a very large RC scale event. And it just gives you a flavor for some of the sizes and types of airplanes that we see at our field. And we go to other fields, we do the same thing. Lastly, national exposure. I briefly mentioned that at the onset. We have members that fly all over the place in many different states and across Colorado. A big one representing Pueblo that we take a lot of pride in, the International Invitational in Lakeland, Florida, which is Top Gun, which is the World Championships, saw one of our pilot teams win second place in this team scale competition. Those are pilots that come from across the world and come in and fly. Pueblo was able to place, two of our Pueblo pilots placed second in that event. Very proud of them. If you flip to the following page, you'll see a photo here of the Pueblo members that were able to make the trip down to Lakeland. And that happens to be the airplane in front of them that took second place. So in conclusion, I have been working with Andrew Hayes and other members of the city of Pueblo. We've readjusted the bid that came in a couple of weeks ago, and we're able to de-scope it or realign the square footages to bring the project within the prior funds that were committed to. We're happy with that, and I've shared with Andrew and some council members, we are not here to ask for any more money. We understand the money is the money, but we have de-scoped it to fit within funds available. That de-scoping will make the airfield work for us and support these actions and activities that we've talked about this evening. And I think it'll give Pueblo again another respectable RC airfield that everybody wants to come to, just like they have been for the last 50 years. I will say in the last 50 years, the club has held well over several hundred events. We've had Busch Beer at our club sponsoring events. We've had all the news media out at our events, doing media related activities. We've had a lot of really good sponsors and a lot of really good support by RC pilots as well as spectators. And I love to see the spectators out when we hold these events. We'll still continue and pursue community outreach and support. All of us believe that is so, so important. As Brent mentioned, we have an ongoing economic value, we believe, to the city of Pueblo. The past 50 years, I believe we've had a strong economic input to the city of Pueblo. We just didn't measure it. And we'll continue to fund and maintain all of our property and the new field, just like we have for the past 50 years. Thank you. Mr. Hayes?
That's more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll be brief here. Just I want to give you the update. The last time we spoke, we were at a phase in the bidding process where we had just received a bid back from one contractor. That bid had exceeded the available funds on the project. And so we are now at a phase where at that time you gave direction to go back, rebid competitively and get updated bids. So that's going to be part of this presentation. But I'll quickly remind anybody who's watching online that may not be familiar, we're about 2 miles to the west of Pueblo Boulevard along the new Medal of Honor Boulevard. That's the location of this runway facility. This came about again because of the county's project to construct Medal of Honor Boulevard. It is located within just a few hundred feet of the existing runway location. And so for safety reasons, it was determined that the runway needed to be relocated a little bit to the north. This project would construct, the existing facility is 60 by 680 feet approximately. Pavement is in very poor condition, but the new project would relocate the facility just a little bit north, about 300 to 400 feet north of its existing location, reoriented a little bit to allow for better alignment, to keep planes from flying over the road as much, and to better align to maximize approach and takeoff clearances with obstructions that exist to the east and west of the permitted area. So currently the project has $50,000 of money in the account from Pueblo County that was provided under an agreement. The city has also provided $50,000 of FY25 dollars, and in 2026 dollars, there's another $200,000 that was added at the end of the budget approval process last year. There is also a pending private donation of $100,000, which Monday night you will see an agreement presented for first reading to accept those funds, to approve the agreement, I should say. If all of that comes to pass as planned, you would have $400,000 available for the project. So we received updated bids based on the full scope that we just talked about of $452,000 for the runway, for the pilot area, and for the pit area. So that was the full scope proposal that went out, and we received bids from, I believe, 5 or 6 contractors, and the apparent low bidder is Tony Beltramo and Sons. But again, with the full scope, they've still exceeded the project budget available. So Brian had just mentioned a reduced scope option. And in there, ultimately, we bid this back out in a way that would allow us to reduce the pavement size, pavement thickness, some various factors in order to come to a project that would fit within our budget. Ultimately, this reduced scope reduces the runway from 750 feet or from 800 feet down to 750 feet, reduces the pilot area and the pit areas as well. And it shrinks the amount of earthwork that's going to be required a little bit as well. So ultimately, the project in this rebid configuration would price out at $390,000. That leaves us just a little bit under $10,000 for contingency for any unexpected occurrences out there. So our next step slide here basically outlines 3 options for council. Option 1 would be to award the project with the full scope, but it would require obviously obtaining and allocating and budgeting additional funds to make this work. About $75,000, including contingency that would need to be allocated for that. And it would obviously delay the start of the project. Option 2 is the reduced scope option. Again, the scope that Brian and Mr. Cozzolino have kind of talked about as being acceptable in terms of function to them, would be able to be started here around June 1st within the budget that we've got. Currently, our contract is for 120 days of completion. So once notice to proceed is given, it would take about 120 days. So from June 1st, that'd be about an October 1st completion. Option number 3 is the abandon the project option, which is always an option, but is obviously going to cancel and kill the project at this point. That concludes my presentation, and we will, I think all of us are ready to take any questions you may have about the project or about the club.
Yes, at this time, I'll open up for fielding questions. The chair recognizes Counselor Gomez.
Yeah, you guys remember a counselor by the name of Dennis Flores? Ring a bell? Dennis was the man on this, and I really supported everything he did. The reason I want people to really understand what we're talking about, we just had a couple of speakers ago, we were talking about some of the juvenile issues we have here on weekends and drinking and that kind of stuff. And what you guys got here is probably the finest juvenile diversion program in the country. I mean, you look at this, the connect I've been trying to make for the last couple of years is when you take a remote control club like this with a 15-foot wingspan, I believe, jet fuel, we're not talking about paper airplanes. We're talking about some pretty big planes. But I'm just would like to make the connect between what we have as the youngest to what I call our top gunners, which are the CAE guys out at the airport. And there's a big gap to fill there. And this could be a starting point. That could be an ending point. We have a shortage of pilots all throughout the nation. We could be a hub with our airport. We have an airport that can take a C-130. A lot of airports don't have that ability. We do. We have you guys. We got Yak and the team they call Noggin and the CAA group. This is gold here, guys. And I don't see why we can't put this all together. I really don't. I think this is a great program, and I'd like to see us get together and do it. I already put an email out to Yak telling him we got to get this done. But I appreciate you guys a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez.
The chair recognizes Counselor Latino.
Thank you. I appreciate your presentation. I'm very supportive of this. It'll bring people to this community, which is a great thing. And what you're doing is good. It's very good for this community. And not only for the community, but for yourselves as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Counselor Hernandez.
Just a couple of questions. How do you access the airfield right now?
Right now, you have to go down Purcell Boulevard south, and then you'll take a left on Woodleaf. You follow it all the way to the end, take a right, and you go through the gate and see, you can see the sign from there.
Will you then have access from Medal of Honor Boulevard once
It
that road
won't
opens?
directly come off of Medal of Honor Boulevard. It'll still be the same access road. It'll just be a little bit up further. But
Okay.
the turnoff will be a little sooner.
And your next event is Memorial Day?
Well,
Hopefully.
unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that. The road opens to our understanding on Friday.
Okay,
So
so
that
you won't,
our club is closed.
you're closed until we have the new airfield?
Yes.
Okay.
But maybe in August, we're ready, we're gonna fire it up. Who knows? We'll see how this project goes forward.
How are you advertising to the community that this is out there? Because I've lived here my whole life. I've never heard of it.
You know, and that is exactly the same. I mean, we hear that quite a bit, and it's, we've gone to areas, local schools. We've done little demonstrations. We've brought airplanes into the, in there. We've put advertisements at the Poorhouse and some of the different restaurants out in Pueblo West. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just the, not really getting the idea of what it is, because when these airplanes fly, it speaks volumes. It's a lot different than having somebody come into your classroom and explain to you about model airplanes. And I along with what Mr. Gomez had mentioned earlier, I thought you hit it right on the head. And, some of this robotic engineering, electrical engineering, some of those fields these kids can go into, and it is right now, it's more relevant than it's ever been. I think a lot of the components in these jets and airplanes are exactly what's in these robots. They're in the drones that we're using in the military. I mean, it's just a very appropriate activity to get involved with. And I hope we can, with this road, I hope it's going to really show an exposure. And maybe we can put a sign at an angle to where the traffic will see it, look out and see those airplanes flying during the week. And hopefully families will come out there and start getting involved.
Now, how do you view one of these events? Do you sit in your car? Is there a
No,
place?
no, we have you come out. You can bring a lawn chair. We have some, little stadium seats there and such. We rent tents. We do have shelters that are there that we're gonna move to the new location. So yeah, it's kind of a neat, it's a different activity. And like I said, when I mention model airplanes to all my friends and different people, they just can't get their head around it. They have to see it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Counselor Dante.
I know you're talking about going to the schools, but is there a liability for them to have a field trip out to the location?
We haven't run into that. We haven't had a school activity recently that is wanted to come out to the field. They've allowed us to go to their classrooms and speak. And then we'd give them, of course, a map and how to get there and, come out on Saturday, come out on Sunday. These are the times we're there. But yeah, we need some help with that. And that'd be something we need to look into. But I think the exposure from that road, although I thought it was going to be a negative, it feels kind of like it might turn into a positive thing after all. So.
And what was my other question? Oh, yeah. I noticed there was a picture of a child in your presentation.
Yes.
Do you actually have a youth program?
We don't have an official youth program because we don't see enough kids, but we do have training airplanes that belong to the club with what they call a buddy box. And it's basically a remote control system with a cable that plugs into one that the student can use. And you can hold the button and the student can fly the airplane. If they get in trouble and get inverted or something like that, I can let off the button, catch it and redirect them and get them back on it.
So will a youth program be something you'd be interested in doing?
Very interested in, yes. And that young man is my son and he's right here.
That was taken a long time ago.
26.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Counselor Boston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be honest, this kind of started like right around when I got on council, I think, or a little bit before that. And this document you provided tonight, I think, saved your case with me because it was really hard for me to justify and support an investment of this magnitude from the city on something that would impact such a small amount of people. But your numbers are even off. You're not asking for 400,000 from us. It's actually only 250,000 from us. But to see that there's a return on investment for the taxpayers' dollars is a very important thing to make this justifiable for me. I heard you mention earlier about the maintenance costs and who would be responsible for the maintenance? Is that something the club would take care of? Is that something that you guys like have a membership or dues or something that would help
Yeah,
cover?
we charge a membership and we do, some members just pony up the money to help out and we reseal. We fill cracks. We've done that in the past. Shelters get vandalized. We used to have a lawnmower out there that we mowed with, and of course it was hauled off by who knows. But yeah, it's for 50 years we've been managing that facility. And it's shown its age, but it's been there a long time and it's served us well. So.
Yeah, I heard you say earlier something about like the road, was a bad thing at the start, but it might be a better thing now. I mean, I think it sounds like it's a pretty good thing if you're gonna get a brand new runway out of it.
Oh, you have no idea.
That's a good way to justify the placement of the road.
Yes, it is.
What would the cost be for maintenance yearly, you said?
I'm thinking right now we're between 3,000 to 5,000. You don't have to do the sealing the runway initially. It'll probably be 3 to 5 years before we have to incur that. And usually we do it in segments. But just basic mowing. My good friend Tim Boyce mows for us. You might know him. Yeah, we just little things like that. But most of the time, it's just donation from local club members that come out and we do what we got to do to keep the thing going.
And you guys will be taking over the maintenance. You don't expect anything from the city on
No.
that? Sounds good. Thank you.
Mhm.
The chair recognizes Councilor Latino.
I just want to, again, say I'm supportive of this. I think it's something great for this community. It's moving Pueblo in the direction of becoming a tourist attraction,
Yes.
you know? We will have this, we'll have the Da Vinci Museum, and we're on the map.
Right.
Thank
Get
you.
them downtown, get them
Yes.
around the river
Yes.
walk. I think that'll be
Yes.
great.
Yes.
Thank you.
So
for your support.
congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
The chair will recognize Councilor Boston.
So I guess, Mr. Hayes, you're kind of looking for some sort of direction from council. I could tell you personally, my opinion, we can't justify going over the budgeted amount. So the adjusted scope of work, I think, is something that I would be palatable with at this point.
I appreciate that. That's exactly what we would like is some direction tonight, just to confirm that that option 2 is the option that Councilor Boston just mentioned about that would keep us within the budget of the funds available, again, presuming that the private donation comes through as planned. We'll be back to talk to you. That at this moment, everything is on track. The conversations with the prospective or the donor have been good. They've been they're waiting for the agreement to be approved. And again, first reading next Monday will be council's first opportunity to review that agreement. The second reading will be at the end of the month. There would be an ordinance to budget and appropriate the funds once received, and then a resolution to award the contract coming still. So those are several steps still to go.
The chair will recognize Councilor Dante.
This is for Mr. Andrews. So when you, I'm for option 2 as well. But when you changed the parameters, did you have to go out and have that rebid, or did you stay with the same company?
We would stay with the same company. We ran the bid with the updated quantities, but when we solicited the bid, the IFB, the invitation for bid, we put in there that there may be the city reserves the right to change those quantities to reshape and resize the scope of the project. Ultimately, the whole purpose of that was for this very scenario, so we could make sure that we could get a project that fits within the available budget. So that was the intent.
Mr. Hayes, as the contractor, do you know if they've accepted the lower amount?
They have not expressly yet. We have not brought them a resolution or brought them the contract with the updated quantities yet. But that was part of the solicitation going out. So we'll confirm that here in the coming days. And then, like I said, we've got a couple of other steps before we bring the resolution for award back. But before we can do that, we need to make sure the funds are budgeted and appropriated.
Okay.
Appropriately.
All right. All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move forward with our agenda. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
All right, then up next on the council's agenda, the chair would like to invite Fire Chief Barb Hewer for a fire department staffing, and I believe Bella from our HR department. Thank you, ladies, and the chair will recognize you for 15 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Barb Hewer, Fire Chief. Thank you, Council also, and Madam Mayor. I'm here with HR Director Bella Trujillo to do an overview of the fire department and also explain the reintroduction of the ordinance. So the fire department objectives, of course, are to provide emergency services to the community within the city limits. We do code enforcement and public education. One of our core values, of course, is excellence in customer service to the citizens and visitors of Pueblo. We work with the community and our community resources to provide proper resources and its proper usage to provide the best response possible. We continually collaborate with our community partners, which include all the other community county departments. And one of our priorities that we request every year is to continue to improve the health and wellness of the firefighters' living quarters. We have 11 stations. The map in front of you shows you the locations of those stations. Each station has at least one engine. There are 2 truck companies, there are 2 assistant chiefs, and then there are several cross-staff vehicles, which are specialties such as hazmat, tech rescue, and our brush units for wildland firefighting. Operationally, we have 3 shifts that consist of an A shift, a B shift, and a C shift. Each shift has 2 assistant chiefs to supervise all the crews. A crew consists of 3 personnel, an officer, an engineer, and either a medical officer or a firefighter. To help you understand each position, the assistant chiefs manage the shifts. So they do the scheduling and the planning for the day to make sure everything gets done. They also ensure the safety of the crews. The officer is responsible directly to a crew, so they manage their day-to-day activities. The engineer is responsible for the apparatus, so they drive it safely, and they also do the operations depending on which apparatus they're driving. It could be pumping, or it could be the ladder truck and setting that up. The medical officer is in charge of patient care. They are advanced life support certified. Certified. And then also in a fire situation or other situations, they basically are a firefighter type position. And then the firefighter, we have mostly on the trucks, and then also as the boomers, they're EMT basics. Most of our personnel are IV certified. And then we have a unique position called the boomers. And the boomers are the individuals, we have 7 per shift. They fill in for like people who are on vacation or sick leave or things like that. So they move around they don't have an assigned station. And all of our personnel at a minimum are EMT basics. And like I said earlier, the majority are IV certified. So what does our days consist of? Well, we work 48 hours, which we call a tour, which consists of 2 24-hour shifts. In that time, we'll respond to calls, we'll conduct training, we will do our workouts, we'll also do public education, as well as take care of the vehicles and our equipment in the station. This is a breakdown of our calls last year. We ran over 26,000 calls. Of that, about 700 of them were the Directing Others to Services program. That's an outreach program for low acuity, non-emergency response type calls, and they connect people to resources. But as you can see on this chart, over 17,000 of those calls were medically started off as medical calls. And for the explanation later, a basic life support call, or BLS, out of the 17,000 calls we had last year, 6,700 patient care reports were done that were BLS. The high acuity calls are the ALS, advanced life support calls. We did over 2,000 of those calls last year. And that's where those advanced care skills are needed. So over the last couple of years, the last contract, we made an adjustment to some of the job qualifications. We changed what was required of a captain and made them required to have the advanced life support training to promote to captain. This allowed for supervision and redundancy over the emergency medical officer, who also does the patient care. With that, we wanted to have attrition continue within the fire department and bring new personnel in. So we reduced the engineer requirement of ALS and took that away, so that some firefighters who are not comfortable with ALS training had a place to promote to. Out of our captains right now, 29 out of 35 are ALS certified, so we're getting close to that 100% captains. And our current engineer status, half of them, 50%, are ALS certified. So the department has three big challenges: the fleet, the age of the fleet, and the number of calls we run definitely wears the fleet down. But a bigger challenge is the cost of replacing a pumper and the time it takes. The aging infrastructure, which you all have been very supportive and progressively getting that taken care of. We've got 3 new fire stations, hoping to work on the 4th, as well as a project going on right now to improve some of the older stations. And then the advanced life support personnel position, or EMO position, although we have over 18 people who are qualified for the position, we did not have any internal applicants for that. So recently we did interview external candidates for that position. So I am resubmitting an ordinance hoping for your reconsideration. What this is asking for is to take 3 of the vacant positions and converting them from EMO positions to engineer positions. This is a realignment based on our operational needs and community needs. What it is not is a demotion for any one particular person. The positions are currently not occupied, they're vacant. It's not reducing the number of promoted positions on the job, and it is not reducing service to the community. This year, we had 19 personnel eligible to apply for the MO position. The last internal advertisement was February this year, and we had 0 applicants from the fire department of the 18 engineers who are currently ALS certified. Over the last 2 years, we've had 21 applicants for EMO versus the 38 applicants for engineer. Why it's important for us to have positions for people to promote into is when we do fill for vacancies to keep the fire department fully staffed, there has to be vacancies in the firefighter position. So people need to promote for those positions to open up. 64% of our captains since 2024 have come from the EMO position. Every year for the last few years, we've had 4 personnel complete paramedic training. So we're putting at least 4 people through every single year to keep this attrition going. I thank you for your time. I'll take any questions.
Chair will open up opportunity now for counselors to fill questions. The chair recognizes Counselor Dante.
You have a slide in here that says you have 11 stations and 13 crews. What's going on with the extra 2 crews?
Those are 2 truck crews. So 2 stations have 2 apparatus at them.
And which stations are those?
Station 1 and Station 11.
Chair recognizes Counselor Boston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for that report, Chief. I know this was a resolution that we saw not that long ago, and I know there was a little bit of pushback then. My question is, so I know you're saying that there's no change in promoted positions, but aren't you going to a lower number of EMOs on the fire department if this were to go through?
So we go from 34 EMOs to 31 EMOs, but we'd go from 39 engineers to 42 engineers.
So the arguments that were presented, I know a representative from the union came and, you know, they were not in support of this. And their arguments were that you're decreasing the number of higher level positions. And that's one of the biggest reasons they were against it. Obviously, you wouldn't be bringing this forward if you didn't think this would be a positive impact to the community. So what is the biggest reason and the impact this would have on the community by making this change?
We would keep the department moving forward with the right number of personnel in staff positions. So if more personnel are interested in being engineers or willing to take those positions because the job requirement is less, we'll have those openings in firefighter positions as they open up so we could keep staffing at a better rate than we are right now. There's a lag behind if we're not filling those positions.
So it kind of goes back to those numbers, like you said, more people are applying to be engineer than EMO.
Correct.
Okay. Because I will say that the union kind of saying they were against it kind of was a big impact that I think on the reasoning I chose to, you know, not support it.
Absolutely. I think they're in a hard spot because I think they understand the need, but they also have to speak to the differences in salaries.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Counselor Dante.
Sorry, second time here. When you have, okay, you're bringing in engineers which don't have to have the ALS education
Correct.
skills. So if you have more engineers that are wanting to take that skill and there are no EMO positions open to be promoted to, at that time, would you open up more EMO positions or?
We could consider it at the time. A lot of the engineers who are going through the hardship of becoming paramedics are looking, or hopefully aspiring to become captains, and it is a job requirement to become a captain.
Oh.
So it's a stepping stone where they have the opportunity to pretty much pick where they want to go. If they have the ALS, they'll have more choices than if they don't.
Okay, thank you.
The chair recognizes Counselor Hernandez.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening.
The 3 EMOs that you're moving, those are not in particularly out of 10, correct?
I haven't designated on this, but it probably will be Station 10 based on call volume.
Okay, because that's kind of the impression that we got with the first presentation.
Yes, again, it was specifically in the ordinance the last time, and for transparency, it is not because we were considering what our options were, but the most likelihood is that it will be Station 10s because on average, they run 150 calls a year versus the lowest station running 2,000 calls. And so that redundancy in the city is a higher need.
So that was my next question. What call volume does this 10 have in comparison? And apparently they're the lowest by a lot.
By a lot.
So what's the response time from 6 to now 10 if you need additional support?
So 6s can get there probably to William White Boulevard within 4 minutes. So they're within our time frame that we set as an accreditation standard to respond out there.
So in the 26,753 calls you got last year, not many went to 10.
Correct.
I think you said 2,000?
So there were 2,000 ALS calls in the city that classified by the way this report
Needing
was
the
done.
EMO, right?
Yes. Are you talking about Station 10 or Station or the whole city?
I want to know Station 10 in comparison to the whole city.
Okay, so Station 10, from what I understand, ALS wise, they ran 4 calls.
4?
4. Total calls, they ran probably around 160, but maybe half of those were ARF calls, the Airport Rescue Firefighting, because they are a cross-staff unit also. They have 2 sides to handle. And what happens is 6s has to go out there anyway to cover. So there's opportunity here for us to look at how we're deploying units to respond, either keeping them available on the ARF side and having 6s cover the majority of the industrial park side. There's a lot of opportunity here to look at what we're doing and what our response times are. And where we're going to do that is this coming week, we have accreditation. We have the opportunity to discuss call times with the new station moves.
Last question. Is
Sure.
there a county station?
There-
Department station out at the airport?
There is not. They are down Baxter Road, so they're a little ways away, but they respond to the airport if we have an airport rescue call.
Okay, so even though, is it just a logistics things for the county, why they're not at the airport, or is it a volume thing?
So I believe the city for fire protection, the city fire department responds for that. We're responsible for that area. So that's why we have it.
Thank you.
All right. We'll open up one more opportunity for questions from counselors. All right, seeing none, we will move forward with council's agenda. Thank you folks for coming in. Appreciate your time. Okay. Right. We'll move forward with city council board and commission updates. Councilors, if you serve on a board or a commission, can you please turn your light on? Everybody, okay. Let's see. I guess let's start
Down the line.
Down the line. We'll start with Counselor Hernandez and move.
I have no report tonight.
No report? Okay, thank you, Counselor.
I just have a question in reference to PDF. I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot here, but have we started any kind of reimbursement back to PDF? I think we're at in between 2.5 and 3 years. Has that occurred at all yet?
Yes.
Yes.
I think, Counselor Gomez, we gave you a very thorough presentation about how the city does not in fact owe PDF any money, and PDF was required for the additional expenditures for the foam core project because they went over budget. And that's what was in their
Well, there's
contract.
there's a real difference there in opinion. I can tell you that. But this has been going on for a long, long time. And the initial agreements that happened almost 3 years ago, why we're waiting this long to even approach this. And now you're telling me now you're finding out things that they didn't do, were there things the city didn't do?
Well, this wasn't anything that anybody didn't do. It was just what was stated in their contract, that if they went over the amount that city council approved, that they would be responsible for overages. That's just their base contract. That's what it says. So it's not really something we or them is finding out. That's what their contract had stated all along.
Well, there's a difference of opinion there, but all right, thank you.
Counselor Dante?
I would like to ask one question to the mayor. Where are we at on our RFQ?
What?
For another economic development?
Sure. So the RFQ went out. We had 5 proposals that were submitted back to us, and the city is still reviewing the proposals. If a city council member would like to view those proposals, we can get you hooked up with the purchasing department. They are confidential, so I can't just send them to you. But President Aliff just went through the steps to be able to review. You have to do it through OpenGov. And so if you would like to get set up with that to review, we would be happy to set you up in OpenGov so that you could look at all 5. They won't be made public until after they're scored by the city staff.
Okay.
Counselors, I'm going to ask that we be mindful of our current agenda topic. And if you have other questions on topics, maybe forward them to Mayor Graham. Counselor Dante, did you want to do your report?
Yes. I'm having a town hall posting with at large Counselor Ruiz Gomez. It's going to be at Barkman Library and on Friday, April 10th at 12 noon. I hope to see a lot of people there. ADA Advisory Commission that I'm on. There's a wheelchair lift at the ice rink that's not working, but the city's looking into it. At the library, there's one elevator down, and so they're using the second. Everybody's using the second elevator. But they shut down the 4th floor, and the reason is that if the second elevator goes down, then they have the staff elevator, but the staff elevator does not go up to the 4th floor. Fountain Creek Watershed District board, I'm on that. There are rain barrels for sale if you're interested in a rain barrel. There's also a Ride the Watershed bike tour on May 29th. It starts at CSUP at 8 and ends at 1 p.m. They also have a presentation series at the breweries. They've already had 2 or 3 of them. The last one was last month at Walters Brewery. And the next one is, let's see, called Reading the Landscape of Fountain Creek. And it's on 416 at Bristol Brewing in Colorado Springs, and it goes from 6 p.m. to 7. Pueblo Homeless Commission that I'm on, I actually chair. We reviewed the bylaws. They're almost ready to present to Mr. Gifford. I replayed the shelter presentation, and they were all impressed on your presentation. We had a homeless commissioner Nicole Saracano, who is presenting a safe parking resolution that we're working on to eventually present to the council. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Okay, as for myself, I serve on the Forfeited Property Commission. At this point, we have not, it's an as-needed commission. We have not met. I also serve on the library board. Basically, from what I understand, my role in that is when there's appointments, we look at those appointments. At this point, there are not any coming as of now, but I did have a visit with the two directors, and they said that that's coming pretty soon, probably within the summer, I believe, is when they'll be looking to appoint new folks to their board. I did have a tour of the library and got to see all of the new renovations and wonderful things that are happening there. I also participated in the PACOG meeting for transportation this past month, and basically just going over some of the new projects over the next 10-year plan. And for me, that's about all I have. Sebastian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not really a big update for me. I was not able to attend the last PURA meeting due to my travels when I was in Florida. But I do know we appointed our new executive director. So that is now Jared Stieg. Interim director got appointed to or hired as our full-time director now. And hopefully that's a seamless transition, knowing all the projects that were pending. Hopefully we can start getting some good things done with PURA. Planning and zoning actually has not met for the last, I believe, 6 meetings. We haven't had any agendas, so everything's just been getting canceled. So apparently we've done such a good job that nothing needs to get rezoned. As Councilwoman Ruiz Gomez pointed out earlier, PACOG, we did go over our 10-year plan for the region, but we also discussed issues when it came to funding allocations for the region. So we're trying to figure out ways to go about getting more funding established for Pueblo so we can kind of work on not being the redheaded stepchild of the state. One of the ideas we're bouncing around is adding an RTA to the area as well. And we will have a meeting on that soon. So hopefully next time we do board and commission updates, I can have more information for you on that. And Heart Foundation, I do not believe has met, and I believe our meeting is this month. So no update there either. Oh, one more thing. I got delivered this really, really cool thing from Boys and Girls Club. So thank you to whoever dropped this at the dais.
Okay, President Aliff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Riverwalk is doing good. I still do not have a firm opening date for the boathouse. I think there is an inspection on the elevator soon. And we're hoping that that elevator gets passed and we'll have an opening forthwith. There was a major accomplishment for the boathouse. I'm going to allow the mayor to talk about that because I wasn't there.
And hopefully our inspection is Wednesday for the elevator. I keep saying that every week though, so I'm not going to say it this week and maybe it will actually happen. Yeah, so the city received, or the boathouse received a pretty prestigious award, Downtown Inc. So myself, members of the Urban Renewal Authority, and HARP and planning traveled to Grand Junction. There were several different projects for big communities, small communities that were up to be honored for amenities that activate your downtown area. Bring tourism, bring people together. And so the boathouse was up for the award and we received the award. So thank you to all the members of City Council who voted to put forth the different creative funding sources that we put together 2 years ago in order to get the boathouse done. The HARP Authority, Urban Renewal, Houston Construction, and I don't think I'm forgetting anybody, but all of our amazing partners that were able to collaborate to get the boathouse done. We're hoping for an opening date later this month. So we'll keep you posted and hopefully we pass our inspection.
Excited about that. One day I'll be able to sit up here and say, the boathouse is going to open on. We'll all be excited and we'll be there. But anyway, that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, President Aliff. Chair recognizes Councilor Latino.
Yes, thank you. Couple of things here. First of all, I am on the airport board and I've had a number of calls from tenants of the airport as it relates to the leases and their concerns as it relates to the leases, the fact that Madam Mayor and the city attorney Carla Sykes have met with them and indicated to them that there will be a change in the lease fees. So that I've had a number of concerns expressed to me about that. And we'll see where that goes in terms of I've indicated to them that probably we all need to sit down again and talk about this because that airport is basically a gold mine. And I have concerns as to where this might go. So that's one of the things that we went through this last 2 weeks. Secondly, there's a contingent of individuals that have gone to Rome, Italy to receive the proclamation from the president of Italy with regard to the Leonardo da Vinci Museum being the only one in North America, which makes puts Pueblo on the map again. So it's going to be a great thing for this community. It'll bring thousands of tourists, I know, here. And so I think that's a wonderful thing. So that's where we are with my report.
Great, thank you. All right, so the time is now 8:02 on April the 6th, 2026. Our work session for Pueblo City Council is now adjourned.